That finished garage you're counting as square footage, a court can find that as fraud. Unpermitted conversions sell at an 8 to 15% discount because of it. On a $1 million house, that's $80,000 right off the top, and that's the good outcome. The bad one is a certified letter 3 years later because California Civil Code allows buyers to sue for damages or even unwind a sale entirely. I've got 10 things every Ventura County seller needs to know before they sign that listing agreement. And number 5 is the one that follows you home. The county doesn't care that your prior owner built it out. It does care if you know about it, because if you know about it, you have to disclose it. That's just the business sense side of things, not the escrow side of things. Let's start with the one that hits your wallet first. An appraiser walks into your converted space, sees a garage with drywall on it. No bedroom, not a family room, a garage. Because the building department has no record of your conversion and hasn't seen it being inspected or approved. And Fannie Mae adopted the ANSI Z765-2021 standard for loan applications dated September 2025 or later. Under it, an appraiser can only count finished area that meets code and has permits. No permit, no square footage, no matter how nice it looks. So you have a physical number and a legal number. You think you have 2,200 square feet, but Ventura County says you only have 1,800 square feet. That gap is where deals start to die because lenders trust the county records over a measuring tape. Number 2 is what happens when the gap stops being theoretical. The appraiser shows up with the measuring tape and a lender's rule book. He measures, he pulls permits, and he reports values for your house at 1,800 square feet, not the 2,200. Now you have an appraisal gap. The buyer offered, let's say 650. The appraiser says 580. The lender only lends on 580 because that's the only number that actually matters to them. You've got 3 options. None of them very good at this point. The buyer brings $70,000 in cash extra to the closing table, or you cut your price, or the deal just dies on the vine as it sits. Nobody ever told you that that bedroom was never legal bedroom, and so now you're paying the price as it wasn't known before escrow. Number 3 is sneaky. Because it doesn't show up as a low number, it shows up as a no. Most lenders treat unpermitted square footage as if it doesn't exist. So go further. If they find significant unpermitted work during the escrow, they can decline to fund entirely. Not reduce the amount, just lend 0. Your buyer might be completely committed. They love your backyard, your kitchen, your street, and it all doesn't matter. If the underwriter says no, the buyer is gone unless they can restructure whole loan or just come up with cash. And let's be honest, most can't. So what happens then? Your pool shrinks to cash or hard money people. Those people know exactly what they're looking at. That's where that 8 to 15% discount comes from. Not the appraiser's opinion, but a small pool of buyers who know exactly how to work the system. Number 4 trips up sellers constantly, and it's usually comes up at my very first listing appointment. I'm selling this property as is, so I just don't have to tell them what's going on. Wrong. California Civil Code 1102.1 says the transfer disclosure statement cannot be waived. Not in an as-is sale, not ever. As-is means you don't have to agree to making repairs. It doesn't touch your duty to disclose material facts. And the TDS asks you directly, in writing, about additions and conversions completed with or without required permits. Check no when you knew and you are risking fraud. Then comes the second thing sellers say. The prior owner built it out, not me. Unfortunately, not an offense. If you knew or you reasonably should have known, you have to disclose it. This one's a big one. Number 5, the one I flagged at the top. Failing to disclose known unpermitted work is concealment of a material defect. Under California Civil Law 1710, that opens you up to a damages claim or a complete rescission of the sale. unwinding the sale entirely, even if you've already spent all the proceeds. California courts have consistently held that as-is clauses don't eliminate the duty to disclose known material defects. A seller who knew and stayed quiet faces fraud liability under Civil Code 1709 and 1710. And that exposure doesn't end at closing. Buyers can come after you years later. I've watched a seller think they're completely clear and moved on and get a certified letter arriving years later because the buyer tried to refinance and the lender went to pull their permit history and they couldn't lend on the property. Number 6 is one almost nobody thinks about, and it's getting worse in California every year. Carriers are increasingly denying claims on homes with unpermitted work. If a fire starts in unpermitted electrical inside converted garage, the insurer may deny it outright. And many policies don't cover that space to begin with. Now, play it forward as your closing. The buyer moves in. A year later, a fire starts in the garage that you never disclosed. Their claim is denied and they lose the house. Then the carrier subrogates against you. It pays nothing, sues you for negligence, and recovers its losses out of your pocket. Now you're defending a claim not just against the buyer, but a billion-dollar insurer with a full-time legal department, all because you didn't disclose the prior owner hung the drywall in the garage in 2021. Number 7 only applies to some of you, but if it applies, it really matters. California Civil Code 1102.6H, the flipper disclosure law, took effect in July of 2024. Accept an offer within 18 months of taking title and you have additional disclosure obligations on top of everything else. You must disclose room additions, structural modifications, and repairs performed by a contractor since you bought it. You identify the contractor and you provide copies of permits or a notice that the permits were handled by a third party. This law exists because investors were buying houses, converting garages fast, and reselling without pulling anything. If you bought, drywalled the garage, and listed 6 months later, you're in the crosshairs. The states hold you at a higher standard because you were there when the work got done. Number 8 is where sellers who want to do the right thing lose control of their budget. AB 2533 created an amnesty pathway for pre-2020 unpermitted ADUs. People hear amnesty and just assume it's some paperwork and a filing fee. It's not. You still have to bring the structure to current code. Electrical, plumbing, egress windows, fire-related assemblies, all of it. I watch people start this process expecting it to be just a couple $1,000s, and they all of a sudden are looking at $30,000 to $60,000 being in the hole. Ripped out drywall, rewired circuits, and now windows cut into block walls. Ventura County and the city of Ventura both require real code compliance, not just a rubber stamp. So before you start, get a real bid before you assume that the costs are going to be tiny. Number 9 is for anyone quietly hoping this won't come up. It will. The systems catch it from 4 different directions. The appraiser pulls the permits, the buyer's agent pulls the tax records, and the lender reads the appraisal. And if all three miss it, title can absolutely find this and it'll surface only days before the actual closing date. If the assessor's records show 1,800 square feet and the listing says 2,200 square feet, any competent agent spots it in 90 seconds. California agents also carry a duty under Civil Code 2079 to inspect visually and disclose material facts. Agents have liability for square footage misrepresentations. So your agent has to have a specific idea of where they're getting the information and make sure it's absolutely accurate. Last but not least, number 10, where business sense takes over. Walk your property like an inspector before you list. Pull your Ventura County assessor's record and compare it line by line to what is physically there. If the numbers don't match, you have unpermitted work, and now you know this on your timeline, not the buyer's. Then get a contractor to scope what compliance actually will cost. That one number turns a guess into a specific decision. From there, you have two clean options. Permit it retroactively if the math supports it, or price the discount and disclose everything up front. Full disclosure protects you from post-sale liability and builds trust, because a buyer who knows what he's getting into won't sue you later. That's just common sense and business sense. The sellers who win are the ones who get ahead of the buyer's inspector. If you're thinking about selling in Ventura County and you're not sure what's permitted versus what's drywall, give me a call or text me, and we can figure that out together. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.